Hi guys, my name is Luba. I'm event manager at Intellias. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope that this information is going to be useful for you. And while others are joining in, let's just have a few more minutes and let's talk Intellias a bit. Interesting projects, international clients, global representations, 7 development centers, and more than 500 open positions. That's what Intellias is about. We create unique software solutions for more than 2 billion people with the help of 2,500 specialists on board. And no matter how fast we grow, we always adhere to people-first approach. That's why Intellias is recognized as the best employer according to Forbes, Dow, and other top ratings. So I invite you to check our website with the open positions, and who knows, maybe career match will happen. Now, just a couple of technical issues. You can write your questions to the chat and Valerie will answer them on the way or after the speech during the Q&A sessions. And basically that's it. Let's get started. I would like to introduce our speaker, Valerie Novik, Senior Test Engineer, lead at Intellias. Glad to see you here, and the word is yours.
Thank you. Hi all. I want to notify that we have a delay about 1 minute. So if there will be something when you try to ask your questions and I'm answering, so please remember that there is 1 minute delay. Also on today's webinar, I will make stops every 10 or 15 minutes to questions. So please write all your questions in the chat and we will read it and answer it. Part of questions I will try to answer during this presentation, and other part I will try to answer on Q&A session. Few words about me. I am test manager on Intellias, working on fintech department. Already worked with 3 banking projects. I have experience about 14 years in IT area and about 9 years in quality assurance area. Works with different technology stack, with different areas. There was even experience with some embedded area with AMD APU and GPU chips and the drivers, and with VR, but with VR it was very small experience, about 2 months. I worked there more as organization guy, as some linear manager. Okay, what we will talking about today? We will talk about test plan and test strategy. I will present you some solutions that are based on EE 829 standard. It will be not so complicated. It's not fully delivered this standard, but in my opinion, it includes everything you need on the project, and if you need something more, you can tune it. Also, we will talk about what exactly we need from test strategy or test plan document. It's you don't need to use or follow this document anytime. If you have some big project with multiple teams, you need multiple environments, then probably you need some guideline, and test plan will be best solution for it. But if you work only with 1 or 2 product teams, probably you don't need this bureaucrat. You do not need to waste your time to support any additional artifacts, but part of this artifact, some part of it you can follow. Yeah. Also, we will talk about control and what we should do at what stage of our document. Some part of this document I will not with some part of this document I will not go deep, like defect management or risk management, because it's topics of some separate webinars. But I will try to answer your questions and try to provide you as much information as needed. So let's start. Okay, it's pretty hard to not hear you, but read only some questions in the chat. I like to make some interactions, but on this talk, it will be only my speech. And what is test plan? Basically, test plan is some abstract document that describes entire scope of your testing of the facility, strategy, schedule, entrance, or end, or exit criteria, acceptance criteria, when testing should be started, when testing should be ended. Also, testing can be performed by a few phases in some complicated system. There exist at least three phases. First one, when you are when you are testing during your sprint activities, when you just start implementation. Second one is system integration testing, when you need to ensure that overall system is meet project requirements, business requirements, its work overall. And the last one is UAT. It's many different approaches for UAT, but you need to involve business users in user acceptance testing to ensure that everyone is understand what system was implemented, how it's working, and that it's working right. And what types of test plan we have? Basically, we have three main test artifacts. It's a test plan. It's the documents that I just described. The next one is test strategy. Test strategy is much smaller document than test plan. In test strategy, we do not provide like approach. We just in test strategy we shown what exactly we're testing, when we're testing, what was executed, and so on. And also there is one more document is user acceptance test plan. In modern world, the system is very complicated. Most of systems has microservice architecture. Most of system works on Kubernetes. It has very complex logic, backend logic, very complex infrastructure, and lots of things of infrastructure can be a bug. Even deployment can be an issue for many projects because it's like not every time something that people call in like continuous delivery, it's continuous delivery, it's something else. And in this case, we need some document who will outline us what should be done during UAT. I want to take a few words about, is it really necessary for your project? I'm not sure that every project needs to have a test strategy or even test strategy because if you're working, for example, with some small team, you have like 8 or 10 people. It's like 4 developers, 1 PM, 1 business analytic, 1 or 2 QAs, maybe 1 automation QA, 1 or 2 DevOps. And I'm not sure that this project really needs to have a test strategy document. I think it's additional complicated project complication because you need to support this document. It should be live. In many projects where I was involved or I was auditing, I saw that there exists some document like test plan, but when I started reading this document, it was about like 50 or 100 pages, or it was some document that was like splashed on the Confluence or some other knowledge base. But when I read it, I saw that people not following it. When I checked the history, I saw that this document is not updating for last 3, 4, 6, 1 year, 6 months, 1 year. And it was a little bit confusing. Okay, why you have this document, but you're not using it? What's the first purpose of this document? Why you create it? Why you spending the time? Because it's part of testing delivery. It's artifacts that we are creating. And I think that minimum stack, a minimum amount of artifacts from test plan that you should have, it should be at least some entrance criteria, some exit criteria, maybe acceptance criteria, but not every time. We will talk more about it in a few minutes. You need to have some risk management description, at least high level, because there is always a possibility we cannot be as risk knife every time, and we need to to have some guideline how we work with risks, what can happen with our system. Sometimes in some project, at least in banking area, it's pretty hard to testing some simple thing because you need to have some permissions. You need, sorry, there is a message in the chat. Okay, I will answer this question in a few minutes, sorry. Yeah, and sometimes there is a problem because you need to have some permission. You do not have some accesses to some systems that you need, but you need to guarantee that overall your system working is as expected. And in this area, you need to make some assumptions what can go wrong, what we can test isolated, what problems we can have. In modern world, lots of problems happens when the specs is not like 100% right. In many situations, I saw the problem when we are working with some financial system. This financial system do not have testing system. They provide us specs how we should work it. They provide us what will be incoming data and how should look like outcoming data. And when we have a draw run or first release, we see that okay, it's not correct, and we get this information almost at the end, before real release to production. And in this case, we should have a risk. We should deliver these risks to our clients and explain them. Of course, they understand all of this, but they can do not fully understand the purpose of testing, what we are testing exactly. And we should we should describe our responsibilities. On other hand, the second also necessary artifact that you should have, it's like bug management process. You should describe it because there is a big difficulties with customers when you are working with bug prioritization. When customers get the system and try and start creating new bugs, sometimes they want to do cheating. But again, they saw the problem and they want to get the solution immediately. But this cannot be a like critical issue or blocker issue or something else. And they can provide you a big priority. For example, blocker, yeah, but basically the bug will be not blocker, it will be the issue that they want to deliver faster. Okay, we have two sides, we have not just priority, we have also severity, or we can add additional field with severity for it, or we can split it to like different bugs from business users and bugs to project. And in this case, we can control what exactly our priority, what is critical problems right now. And at least these 4 areas should be described on your project, and it should be written somewhere on a paper. When you talk about it verbally, it's never worked. You can have some misunderstanding. You can have some gaps because you cannot tell about this every time. You should agree it and follow it. If if you see that something can be optimized, you can edit it, and again, everyone can go and read this information, or you can make a small demonstration of what exactly was changed by your test processes. But everything should be written somewhere. At least if you have like Confluence or at least send some email with this information. This help you to not get some misunderstanding problems in the future. Okay, let's go from my long talk to some practical cases. Do we have some questions for now? Let me answer a few of them and move to some practice. Do you use test plan for testing small tasks? No. Again, I'm using test plans for test to describe whole test approach, whole test area on the project. If we are talking about, I'm not fully understand the question. If we are talking about testing some small tasks, what exactly I mean? It's small user stories. Okay, write some test cases on your test management system or some other place, or write some after test for testing this task, and it will be more than enough. But again, we work on agile world, and we most of people using Scrum, and these small tasks is like you are always dividing big task to smaller one. And when you will have a big amount of this small task, you need to understand, okay, how I'm do testing on the system level, how I do testing on the component level, on integration level, and so on. That's where you need the test plan. Bugs from customer often appear to be changing. Yeah, this is another one point. Good one, Olena. Thank you. Bug from time to time we have a bugs, but it's actually not a bugs. It's change request. The bugs, the solution for bug fix, it's changing our business logic. And this is not actually a bug. This is some new implementation. Of course, we need to help our clients. We need to all try to understand them, not always agree, but help, because this is our client, and client should be client provide us approved. Client better know what should be done with his system. Sometimes we can think in a different ways, but again, if clients come with some idea, with some with something that outsourcing company or something else should be implement, we should align with them and understand them. It is something like test strategy or test approach. I'm so sorry, Evgeny, can you please write more information, what exactly you mean, and we will back to it at the Q&A. Thank you. Let's move on. So, sorry. Yeah. How the test plan should look like, what he should consist of. Yeah. First is the formal part, is the project description, purpose of our document, what exactly our project, how exactly our project look like. It should not be like a big document. It should be like just a few words to explain my idea. Today I will show you, real test strategy for a real project. I'm agreed that I can show it. I delete all not necessary data. And for example, our introduction can be like this. Let me try to zoom. Yeah. That our purpose of this document is to outline our test processes. Our project owners or vendors with whom we're integrating will be a participant and involved in reviewing all this document or in testing. User also here I write a few words about UAT because even if it's some small project for a few months, I always try to make a UAT phase of project to get feedback from business users that the system is working as they expected. They already tried it. They made there is lots of approaches with beta testing and so on, but not every time you have like capacity and time for it. At least with UAT, you can get some feedback. Not every time you can get correct feedbacks from your business users. Even if you have a demo, they tell you, okay, everything was fine. But at last moment, after last demo, you can get some additional feedbacks from the system. I start using it and I saw that something working correct. Why you do not tell me about it a few sprints ago? Yeah, and here was about project. In our today's example, it will be online speaking platforms. It will be some platform for webinars where will be few roles where some users can start a webinar like this one. Another user can join it, listen to them. They will have a calendar with future events and so on. Okay, some formal part. What I usually edit. I add a revision history and sign-off sheet. It would be very good, but it's optional if you will get sign-off from your clients. Because if you get sign-off, it means that at least they read it as they understand what you are doing, and they do not have any questions. Maybe if there are technical one, they can like provide you some more wishes. Okay, I want to include this part. So it can be simple table with versions, some description what was changed, and like reviewers who is responsible for review this document, not for its implementation, at least for review. Next one is context. We just tell introduction. Next one is testing scope. Yeah, testing scope. In many projects, when people are hearing about testing scope, they are thinking about we need to have list of stories, list of test cases, at what will be executed. No, it's not correct one. The testing scope for testers should look like what test objects we have, what will be exactly tested. Okay, in this one, it's like simple example. We have some UI-based application when user can click something, follow some information, make some simple stuff, some common stuff like registration, so subscribe for events and so on. We have a backend. Our backend is like list of some microservices. We have API. We describe it like on Swagger by some standard. And we, of course, should have some database where our information should be collected. Yeah. And next one, what is in scope for testing and out scope for testing. Again, this is a simple one, just for your understanding. There can be much more, maybe some project will need much more details, but first one is web. On web, we are make a functional testing with validation end-to-end flows. Here I write for one. We have three type of users, so we validation these three flows. Basically, it's admin, speaker, and users. It can be registered or anonymous. Later, you will understand why I write it like this. Also, by web part, we need to provide cross-browser testing to understand, to provide a proof that there is no problems, that our system work exactly the same. If it's work like on Windows 7 with Internet Explorer and on some modern Windows 11 or last macOS or iOS device with last Safari browser. By microservices, we are we have a flat structure. What does it mean? It do not have like some complex system. Every microservice has some own database, and we don't need to provide like full flow, a full end-to-end flow. We can check by website, but by microservices, it would be enough if you will do just some CRUD operations and play with API. Then I provide list of the services with small description. For example, our service is responsible for authorization and registration. File service will be responsible for storing records and so on. And database, I don't like to test database. I think it's a bad practice if someone has access to database, but particularly on this project, this is a simple one. It do not has some like big security features. It do not contains any like information, some case sensitive information from users and so on. And what exactly we need to test here is data format. It's that we have some main tables and we need to validate that. If we're talking about indexes, it always look like GUID. If we are talking about timestamp, it always save correct for timestamp format. If it's like data should be stored in string, even if it's age, yeah, then it's stored as string. It will be like 13, like 21, but it will be like string 21. Not storing like integer and so on. Out of scope, it will be working with third-party solutions. I don't like to test third-party because sometimes you can get a real big problems with it. Sometimes your client expectation can be like, okay, we are integration with something, and QA should fully test this system. Right? Yeah, but again, we do not implement this system. We cannot affect on the changing of this system. We cannot guarantee, okay, for example, like Twilio and SendGrid is some very popular system in the world when you can send some SMS and emails. Yeah, okay. From our end, everything worked perfectly, but SendGrid has some infrastructure issue, and somehow the emails is not coming to you. It's not coming. Is it problem of is it our bug? Should we really like fix it, spending our time? It's a test system of SendGrid. We are not responsible for it. Of course, if we have time, we will we will talk with our client, or if we can, we will contact with SendGrid and ask them, tell them that that was problem. But again, anything can happen, and it's test system. And at least on the bank solutions, there is a big list of systems that work very unstable. Even if we're talking about some payment system, some some payment aggregators and so on. This system is powerful, and when you work with it, you understand that it's from century. It looks like it was implemented in century ago. So that's why it's better to put it out of scope. But again, there is one very important thing. We do not provide a full testing, full end-to-end scenario with third party, but we confirm that data format that was agreed, that contract is validated by our side. What does it mean? For example, we expecting that we will have some incoming message from some system. Yeah, okay, we will emulate it. We will put this message on our query, or we will upload some file exactly on that format that was provided for us. Or via API, we will send exactly the necessary post request with some incoming data. And if another one, we should sending something to that system, to third-party system. For example, we are sending something to Twilio by API, and by executing some job on Twilio side, user will get an SMS. From our side, we validate that our system will at the exit, we will get this message, and this message is correct, like it's described on spec. The job is done. We do not need to ensure that third-party system is working, that we do not have 500 errors, 44 errors, and so something else. We can take care about it. We can notify about it customer. But believe me, in project where you have this tech, when you need it, it will eat your time, and you will have much more problems, and you will have big time consuming problems with it. Also, another one is infrastructure reliability. I like to, not like, but I always writing about it because we are not DevOps. We do not have necessary technical stack. Maybe we have it, but again, if we're talking about some manual guys, it's very like we should not expect that manual QA can investigate that we have some problems with Kubernetes, that somehow our API was not started or deploy was failed, even if job on our CI was green, but the wrong version of snapshot was wrongly deployed, or something else have some deprecated issues that is not like you cannot check on it and say, oh, I know where's the problem. Something hiding. We cannot expect the guys can really show something, except when you work with some cloud technology. My favorite one is when security updates come. I mostly work with Azure, but and some security updates come to Azure, or we need to update some infrastructure part. And from L3, I'm come to me this tickets like, guys, we will apply these changes, please test it. What exactly we should test? We should provide like full system regression. What we should do? There is not even release notes. Yeah, and okay, it is good if you have like release notes from Microsoft. We are updating some our processor. It will be involved in this, and this. And someone from team can help you and guideline you. Okay, this can affect this one or this one. This can affect our database. This can affect our storing procedures, and can provide you some examples. And you, as QA guy, can have enough experience to make some test design and understand, okay, what exactly I should test. But in most cases, when you have the task like this, you can do nothing. You can provide a regression, spend some big amount of time for your regression to guarantee that, okay, it's working fine. Unfortunately, it's reality, but we should market about our scope, because if something will happen again, and somehow it will be thinking that, okay, it was testing gap, it was then we should explain that we do everything from our end, but probably it's like not our responsibility. Probably there should be some health check on the website. Probably there should be some reliability scripts and so on. Because in this part, it's really sometimes it's really big expectation from QA. And when project hiring middle and junior staff of manual QAs, it's pretty interesting to hear about it. And also you should write about objective is a primary object and secondary object of your project. Let me try to read a few questions and we will move on. Just wondering, no, this is not uniform template for all Intellias project. It's like my template, and I'm adopting it regarding to the project needs. It's sorry. For example, this one has only 31 pages, but from my current project, it's about 58 projects. Well, so 58 pages. How much time do you usually spend for creating, updating the strategy document? For this template, it take I don't know, about a day, but most of time I'm spent for collecting all data, requirements, and understanding overall system, how it should look like. I'm a bit confused on the site. What does the task plan consist of? Testing scope, the document you're sharing is calling. Oh, yeah, please do not check the name. I just put some text there. I don't know, somehow I think that I write a test strategy. It's just as example for this webinar. The section 2, so where does the testing scope belong to test plan or test strategy? It depends on you. Again, it can be implemented at both. I use test strategy mostly for releases. If I have a big release on my previous project, I was involved in few client projects, and I was involved on the release phase when there was like months to release. And this releases was not like release for mobile app. It not happens immediately every like 2 weeks, every month. It happens one per year or 1 per 6 months. And in this case, I do not think that this project need to have a test plan, but I write a small test strategy. And I collect here all testing scope, what exactly will be testing. I think that some kind of contract after test can be used for current integration if third-party system really critical. Yeah, I fully agree with you. But again, it's not every time you can have enough experience with this third-party system. You don't know. You do not have like full understanding of how the system stability is working out. But sometimes is the system can working, but sometimes it can fail during some, like they make some updates, they upload some night builds to their system and so on. Sometimes in like financial sector or fintech, the test systems supporting take big amount of resources. It take lots of money, and in many cases, the test system that you're using, it also like test system for the vendor who providing this, and you can have different interesting situation. Do you include test unit integrations that right by the? Yeah. I will talk about unit and integration test Later, I will show you how I describe it on my test strategy. Yeah, and again, Yana, please skip the document name. I don't know why I'm writing the strategy. Okay, let's move to the test methodology. Okay, so what it could to describe here? Here is describing exactly who is QA team members, test levels, business users, and so on. About the question of including some testing, yeah, what is most common testing types and test levels that you should include? So of course, it's acceptance test. Second one is system integration tests. In my practice, I do not divide after test for system or for integration. In most system where which I'm testing at, it's we're using our system tests, but this system test is isolated. We try to test some scenario, some journey or some flow, but very isolated flow. Okay, we need to validate flow for registration. Yeah, we need to validate some flow that person with the same email, like it's stupid to like write and validate some regression tests that the person with same email cannot be like registered twice. Yeah, because it should be validated by unit test, by indexing of data. But again, if you will get these problems, you can test it. So basically, system tests, it's something that you are trying to emulate some incoming data and validate some outcoming data, and you validate steps between it. And you cannot tell that it's like validation of end-to-end scenario, because you do not like go online, you do not providing full cycle of a testing. But with system tests, you can check that main integration is working as expected, and if it's good designed, it's more than enough, and you will not like to do a separate integration suite for you. But again, all depends on the project. Unfortunately, in last 4 years, I work with really complicated systems, and I do not have so much resources to write end system test and integration test. So we like try to do a system integration. Next one is component testing. I think that everyone knows what is component testing, and I should not explain about it. If you want, I will share this document after our webinar with you, and you can write what exactly I mean. Also, we need to include unit testing. This test is written by developers, but again, it's still a test. Developers should test their code, at least with unit tests. It's pretty ridiculous to hope that if we do not have unit test on our project, and for beginning it's okay, but for maintaining, for like extracting our side, it's really ridiculous to think that everything will work fine, QA will cover everything, and project will be stable enough. It's not working, because when developers write some unit test on their code, they can find lots of stuff, and they can deliver more clear code to the QAs. I'm sure that many of you who has years of experience was involved in some project. When you get a task for testing, you try to start testing it, but you see that your environment is completely not worked. Yeah. Also, it's more regression testing. Yeah, and I'm delivering system test here. It's independent, like user acceptance and system integrations more for UAT and SAT, and system testing. It's just what was I am explained to automation. Next one, as I mentioned, for this project, there was a requirement that it should work on look good and work on different platforms. It has a responsive design. It do not have like separate iOS or Android app. It's working. It completely work from browser. And what exactly we need to validate when we talk about cross-browser testing? Page layout, text alignment, buttons, pop-ups, font size, font colors, page navigation, tooltips, functionality with file uploading and downloading, especially for iOS devices, date formats, and submit like the functionality work the same. If you have a capacity, if you have resources for like automation, UI automation, there is lots of different solutions that can be used. Very good one, I like AeroCube, but AeroCube not has bad supporting of iOS. It's not supporting it. It's not working there. Also, there is lots of different virtual libraries, virtual mobile device, desktop device like Renorex or something else. And it's most of these solutions work with Selenium. It's already, I saw that it's there already work with Cypress, and you can write like auto test once and make and if you have and supported like drivers, like web drivers, if you work on with Selenium and Selenite, you can run it on the on some environment locally on or some environment, because everything is already exist on Docker, or you can, or you, if again, if there is a big amount of different browsers, you can use some solution for it. Next one, by our cross-browsing activities, we saw that there was requirement from client that it should work on macOS, Windows, iOS, and Android. Yeah, we need to specify what is our supporting version, at least minimum supporting version, because if there can be a problems with not supporting browsers. Also, all of you know that in last 16 months, Firefox is go to the Chromium browser, to the Chromium engine, Edge go to the Chromium engine. It's basically some different browsers. And it's better to specify these versions here, because otherwise you should understand that if you here should support some old version of like Firefox, then on Windows, then we should at least be able to provide this, to make this setup. For mobile devices, if you have only like manual resources, yeah, if you do not have a big amount of physical devices, best way it's like shows that we will use our native emulators, Xcode and Android Studio, and we should have at least some Mac Mini where we can install Xcode and validate devices there. Then supporting browsers. There is 5 supporting browsers for yeah. This is like old one, because there is like July 2021, yeah. But client want to have 5 browsers, because in his area, this 5 browsers is most commonly used, and even Internet Explorer. There was about 14% of users who will use Internet Explorer 8. And that was a big problem for us for testing, but but yeah, we included. Then because we have a responsive design, there is two types of solutions that you can have is responsiveness and adaptiveness, and adaptive design. And I describe like the most common resolution and aspect ratio and which devices will be used for this ratio. For Android, it's pretty hard to test something on Android. I try to engage with client and explain them that we cannot cover, there is a very small risk that on like Samsung device, Xiaomi device, there will be a little bit different, or there can be a little bit shifted if elements, and we cannot like, it will be very ridiculous to cover like device from many vendors. But what we can guarantee, we can take a prime device from Google, is Google Pixel, and get at least one iteration on this device. And this will be a big percentage that you do not have any unexpected solution. At least what can happen if there is problem with CSS, we will see it on different devices, small screen resolution, medium screen resolution. We will see how our web element is shifted. If the more common problems will be if you need to use your camera or you need to have access to file system to upload some file. In Android, if we use a device with like some version of Android, it works the same. It should mean no difference between Samsung or Google to upload any file from your device. But there is a difference of browser API when developer implemented it. And of course, for iOS here, about 3 years ago, iOS partly opened the aerophile system, and now you can like work with it. At least for me as a phone user, now I can download for my phone any like tickets, any directly download some books to iBooks from internet, and the life comes much easier. Yeah. Of course, there is a big amount of devices, and at least for this one, we will have like 24 iterations just to test everything. So we divide in these devices for priorities, like P1, P2, and P3. P1 is what we should test. P2 is what will be good to test. If there will be no big amount of bugs, then we will be able to validate P2 device. And P3, it's more nice to have. Like we will not tell our clients that we will not cover P3 device, but we always should have a backup that something can happen, and we will do not have like enough time because the system was not good enough. It depends on developers, it depends on us to do everything in time. And exit will not be tested because it's not like selected. And of course, it's look like pairwise table. So you can make some combinations. And I'm prepared some table like this. Few more minutes and I will answer your questions. Testing tools. We should describe what exactly testing tools we use. And even for manual stack, there is lots of testing tools that can be used. It's our test management system where we're storing all our test cases. It's browser dev tools. Yeah, I think that everyone should work with it because if something happens on the page, you press upload, button, for example, and document was not uploaded. Yeah, it's very like not professional to create a bug. Document was not uploaded by pressing upload button. It's much better if you will open browser console, you will get the API call, you will get the error, and you will big chance that you will exactly understand where is the problem. It's a bad request because something was changed, maybe some header somehow was not sent. Maybe our documents should be converted to some base64, then send it and reconvert it back. I don't know. Postman to validate API, Fiddler or Charlie to debug our traffic, and in almost in all web system, they want to send you some notifiers, they want to track your location and to validate that if it's some market specific area. For example, if I'm from Ukraine, I should not access to this application. If I'm from UAE, I will able to access to this application. It's very, I don't know, it's very abstract example. You should have some VPNs or a slot. Opera has very good VPN and you can use it. Also, there is lots of different free VPNs that can be used as extension for Chrome, for Edge, for Firefox, and you can just switch it, at least to guarantee that from media. Also, your page can be language specific. For example, if you open this site from Germany, there should be German language. If you open this site from Italy, there should be Italian language. Yeah, that will have. And the last one is user agent switcher. The last one, yeah. User agent switcher, also very cool tool. What we send in by user agent, we send in our system, we send it our browser, and it can help a lot. Most of system work with it as adaptiveness that for like Android, the text will be a little bit formatted, a little bit sizing and so on. And by switching user agents, we can quickly validate that there is no problem with cross-browser. I'm not telling that you can completely replace your browsing, but user agent switching can help you save your time for many cases. Also, I like Lighthouse. In the last versions, they not the last version, but 3 months ago, they fixed their main problem with registration one. But Lighthouse can show you the most common problems with page loading and optimization. How to not analyze like Chrome tools, you can easily to check there how much time it takes to start page opening, how much time was spent until page was completely downloaded, whereas first DOM object appear, and so on. It was also, if you feel that your solution or client feels the solution works slow, can help you with not like performance testing, but you can at least to make some analysis and to talk about it with developers. Yeah. Yeah. Docker, if you maybe for some local environment, and against emulators. And you can easily to describe your automation scope, like for example, we use Cypress for UI with WebDriver, some stuff on WebDriver, and some other like Concept.js plus Chest and Mocha using for like API testing. Yeah. And previously it was used Selenoid, but it was removed from Cypress. And you can see that at least for manual part, there is lots of tools that can be used by manual QAs that can help you to improve your work and save your time. Let's spend a few time for questions. ISTQB defines the component testing as a unit testing using mock stubs isolated execution. Yeah, but also if you read ISTQB, there will be about testing phases and there will be the model where component testing will be a little different ones. Component testing is isolation testing of some small component, and unit testing is validation of some function. So check the test phase and vmodel on STQB. React has components. Unit test can cover particular method, class, and ETS. Yeah, but the test plan is about what? Sorry. Oh, there is some holy water in the chat. Okay, let's move next. My favorite one. I like to asking this question on by interviewed candidate because it's, in my opinion, it show skills and experience of QA more and can answer you most of system if the person match on any QA position. Why we need to write entrance criteria? In some cases, your environment can be unstable. Code is implemented, but it cannot be. It can be not like testable. Also, there can be some problems with setting test data or any other stuff, and you should not. You should not think about. Okay, there is some problem with deploy. There is somehow database is not acceptable for me for now. There can be some problems with unit test and so on. I collect here most like common thing for entrance testing to start our job. Many times I saw like when QA get lots of tasks and this task was not closed for 1 or 2 sprints or maybe more. And the delivery manager, project managers tell me that there is a gaps with testing resources. I started investigating it and I saw that guys are trying to resolve some problems. They cannot take the story and test it right now, but somehow the story is assigned to them. Lots of time, sometimes it is a ridiculous problem when developers are deploying their changes, but they do not pull last changes, last commits that was done before their deploy, and they reverse the code. Sometimes there is a problem when you try to log into the system or start providing some tests and you get some authorization problems. Yeah, it should not happen. We're talking about user story. There can be lots of different problems. And that's why it would be good if you will write your entrance criteria based on your experience, what was blocker for you to start your execution. Because again, you're not a developer, you're not a DevOps, you're not don't know business analytic, and maybe some requirements it's not like 100 understandable for you, or there is some gaps. We start doing it and we will like get these requirements after story implementation or during story implementation. Okay, creates another one story with this. It's not like should be not a part of our like testing work. Yeah, in some again in some project I not able to generate all this data that I need. So list of these things can help you to specify your work. And if you are get not testable task, you will back to this list and tell guys, we working on delivery. We try to like do all our best and show and make any progress. But nothing will happen if I will have 1, 3, 10 tasks on testing. It doesn't mean that story is finished. Okay, you implemented your site, you are prepared some solution, but I cannot test it because an environment is not working for me, because I still do not have accesses for it. Because and you should understand that magic will not happen. I will not close like this big amount of story in one day. Big. Maybe there is a real problem because I do not close any story till last sprint. And that's why you need to describe an entrance criteria. It will help you and it will cover you from some stuff, from not testable code, from not testable solution, for any problems where you cannot start your work. And the same is exit criteria. We start our testing, yeah, and we do not have like one environment where we can test it. We do not have any possibility to make code freezes. We have like open bugs that affect all future logics that we should test. Is it the right solution to test it? We will test it by cycle. We can make like 10, 20 cycle of testing before we will test the simplest one solution. So that's why we should write an exit criteria. What will be end of our work? It can be write it separately for user story, it can be written separate for regression, and so on. And it's pretty critical to explain that exit criteria should be consistent. Because if exit criteria will not be followed, then we will not provide a necessary level of quality for our solution. Yeah. Yeah. Holivars continue. Okay. Acceptance criteria for release. I do not write some specific acceptance criteria. Like I mostly use exit criteria where I describe it on necessary information, but again, it's not. But I like to describe some quality control metrics because sometime like 5 years ago, I have a first experience when project manager came to me and tell, Valery, we should set up quality gates on our project. I tell, okay, cool. I never use it. I use it, but I do not have like some formal implementation of it. And for again, it's very not every time the people understand that when they're talking about quality gates, it's not only QA work. There's lots of quality gates that should be provided by some business analytics, some developers, some DevOps, and so on. And here I describe, like from my practice, the main quality gates that can be done on the project. Yes, small explanation, I think it's good enough. For example, pre and post submitting validation. Here what we have, basically, what does it mean? It means that pull request should have some validation. Basically, it should have some some unit tests. Yep, if you're deployed to prod, and maybe if against you have automation, probably the system or integration test should pass on your system. If system test is failed, it's should not be like deployed. The developer can check where is the problem, or the automation guy can help him with problem explanation, and they can fix it and make request again. Code review, one of the main things that should happen on any project. One developer write code, another developer should read this code. If it's possible, you can do a review in your QA team. It's very good practice, at least from time to time, not for every story, but if you write in test cases, one QA write test cases, another QA at least read the titles of these test cases to understand, to get main understanding what should be tested during the story. If he do not get this understanding, probably it should be rephrased or extended or discuss it to get on the same line, because there is I saw lots of projects where is two QA guys, manual of automation, and they are working on the different levels. One working with his solution, another working with his solution. When you read test cases, you understand, okay, this test case is written by QA 1, this is by QA number 2. And it has different philosophy, it has different, and when you try it, it's good if this is usable test cases, but when you try to execute it, you understand that there is not enough information for execute. The same for after tests. First thing that I'm doing when I'm involved in some project with after test, I try to change something. I try to change some variable. If I see some custom data that this should be 1 or this should be like this ID, I do not. For me, it's really suspicion why you have some specified data with these cases. It's very bad practice. Then I try to change some test logic, and I see is this test case will pass or not. And in many, why I'm doing it, because in many cases, from time to time, I get some vanilla tests. Vanilla test, it's test that will pass every time. It's not depends. Sometimes I'm changing some request fields, and it still passed. It still has 200 or 201 status code. It's not every time, but from time to time, I'm getting like this, or I see that there is some test that use specific data, and this test was not changed for last 6 or 7 months. And when I check execution for I don't know how much system is collecting, at least last 3 or 10, at least for last week, I see that this test was never filed. For me, it's really suspicion. For me, first thing in my mind is this test is worked or not? Is this test will always pass, or how I can work something to fail this test? Except when you are getting some code from low level vendors. So here you can validate. Even sprint demo can be a quality gate, because for me, sprint demo is one of the best way to get feedback from the business users. I always try to ask my delivery managers or scrum masters who is moderates this demo to add few words at the last of demo to provide some feedback from business users. How was the demo? What do you like most? What should be improved? Or please try to click the solution. We will upload it to UAT and provide us small feedback. I'm not asking you to do a regression. Just to click it and tell me, is this the solution that you want or not? Because again, we last gate between implementation and release, there is a testing. Yeah, and okay, there is some critical change. Developers will do this. He will spend lots of time. But again, we don't know what exactly dependencies can have. And when the code is done, client always expecting from us that, okay, it was done, so it can be delivered tomorrow or even today, but we should have a possibility to test it, because small changes can provide us a big problems. Let's check the questions, and let's quickly go by test metrics. Exit criteria have described as the same definition of done for user stories. No, but definition done for user story, it can be a part of our exit criteria. Again, maybe for story testing, it will be more than enough to write the definition of done. When we thinking that story testing is finished, when we thinking that story can be closed. Okay, test metrics. Yeah. I don't like to provide a test reports, manual test reports. Modern world are giving us like live view. I think that best approach when everyone can go to some system. Yeah, everyone can go. Everyone who need it will get like automated test reports. Everyone can go to test management system, and for regressions they can check what is our status by our regression test cycle. And it's like last century to provide us, okay, we executed 1,000 tests, 90 of them was success, 50 was failed, 50 was skipped, and so on. But modern system, modern TMS, like, I don't know, the FIR test trail provide you lots of solution and provide you best metrics that you can track from the cycle execution. And all these test metrics is, first of all, is needed for you. It's needed to understand quality of your work, what can be improved, where we can have gaps. Because if it show this problem to the client, then you're in trouble. Probably you're doing some, you not do your work as it should be. But otherwise, most of us are working with Jira, and I like to provide the fake metrics. I create in some separate dashboard when I like to show main stuff. It's pie chart by defect priority, how much priority we have. I like to show who is assigned to the tickets. If we have different teams, we can do this list for a few teams, like team A, team B, and so on. By statuses, it depends of your DLC. Yeah, this is example. It's a bad one, but it gives us a visibility what's exactly happened right now. That was like second day of regression in my case. Number of new bugs and resolved bugs. This will give us a very good visibility of stability of our system, because it's very don't scary. I created it just for testing purposes. But by this one, it's very look like burn down chart, and you can see that okay, every day we somehow in this day there was founded like 200 issues, 200 new issues, yeah, and then it was much lower. Probably there was some regression and some amount of bugs was founded. Second one is filter results. When you filter in Jira, you can also use a filter results, and basically you can divide it by its priority, and you can write like summary, status, and you can easily track if it was taken on board, if it's ready for testing, where it happens. For example, you can use component field or use some component fields, and which epic it's linked at. For me, epics it's more like it's part of testing activity. Yeah, and describing quality levels. And yeah, for bug management, defect management, I think is one of the most important things that you should have on your project. If you have Jira, create this board once and track everything there. You don't need to go to you don't need to check your Scrum board, because where you have epics, stories, subtasks, tasks, maybe some technical issue, bugs. You can see you can check everything in one side, and it's really easy to manage all it. Unfortunately, during NDA, I cannot show you this board, but believe me, these few metrics will help you a lot. And also by assigning one, you can check that, okay, we have total maybe like 30 bucks and 20 bucks this was not assigned. Probably we should have some unplanned grooming session with developers and assign at least blocker critical middle bugs to the developers. Yep, or we have like 5 or 10 blockers. Okay, need to check why we have a big amount. We should do a root cause analysis. There is lots of information in internet how you can do a root cause analysis or some other analysis. We can divide system by components, by logical parts, and we can check. Cloud Jira has bubble chart. I like bubble chart because it shows you amount of the text get bigger if you have a bigger amount of work, and there you can check that okay, we have some part of system where we have most of bugs, and overall it can help you to see all picture. Yeah. Component may consist several classes. Component may provide external. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. About testing deliverables. Here I write. I describe all that we deliver as QA. Component coverage. Here I describe approach, and from the client I get few pictures. Yeah, what is possible to do by each user, what should be done, and for me it's look like state transition. Yep. So here I use a state transition, and I describe the test cases for this journey of this client. Yeah. For example, some person who wants to check webinar. Yeah, he can go directly to our website, check the list of streams, choose, okay, today I will check about pets, something about pets. If it was already finished, he can check recording. If it will not start, he will check, okay, it will be started in 30 minutes. Or if it's ongoing, he can connect to the live stream. If the person is in, he can do completely the same, but he will have a possibility to write some comments in the chat. Yeah. And here you can describe everything. The same stuff is for speaker. You don't need like this test cases is more look like checklists, and because again it's some simple solution, and by these cases, if I don't know, search field is not working, or you have CSS problem, or you saw that part of information has a blank space, is shifted,
you will find it. You will show it by you will show that you created bug. But the main idea, you should check a business scenario. You should check a journey that functionality was expected, and this is more than enough. Yeah, as I mentioned, of course, it's not the microservices testing, but for this project, it was more than enough to validate API because it has a flat structure. There is not some deprecated logic when you are send API call to one microservice, connecting with others, they're connected with other, collecting some data, go to the next, and so on. It's do not have these services is really flat structure, and it's do not have like big dependency between each other. So here I describe, and also this project, like I was automation guy who write some main automation test, and other two guys with manual QAs. So basically, what they should validate, they will create in Postman some collections. They will use pairwise. If we need to work with our requests, yeah, how we can use pairwise? We can have some enum data, yeah, we can have like some list of green, yellow, and so on, yeah. We can combine, so for this test case, we should choose yellow, so this case should be green. We can have a mandatory and not mandatory field, yeah. If some mandatory field is missed, then probably we should have a bad request, yeah. If some not mandatory field missed, then test case should still pass. By combining all of this, we can have for one request, we can have several different cases for validation. I write here what exactly we will test. We will test date format, JSON here, JSON, basically our JSON schema, mandatory optional field, field types, field lengths, equivalent boundary partition, yeah. Request properties, if we have some headers, additional headers, for example, for authorization, positive and negative cases, and API timeout. And basically, for post, yeah, if we are, so we can have a possibility to use authorization token like user login and without it. If we're using post with tokens, then we should have 201 and maybe some custom response, yeah, or just success. And without it, we should have 401 unauthorized. The same for get. If it was not founded, we can have 404, yeah, not founded. And basically, for post request, there should be at least 3 test cases. For guest, for at least for any type of request, we should have at least test cases where we should validate that we will have correct response. Next one, there is a small bureaucracy. I'm describing roles and responsibilities on the project. Unfortunately, there is 3 minutes left. Next one, I describe a testing phases when we are planning to enter to system integration testing, when we plan to start UAT, third-party vendor provide NFR for us, and another one third-party vendor provides cyber penetration testing. So we have only 2 environments, so we should collaborate with them. And by these dates, at least we know when the environment will be accessible for us, accessible for another vendor, and for NFR, accessible for cyber penetration. And here we can describe it. Test. I also add here test schedule. We not used it, but my first talk with client was that client is really was really worried about this project. It was only 2 months from zero to production release. So I'm right here small test schedule. You can using it at least for few first string to align your work. The fact Yeah, defect tracking process I'm describing here. If you have any questions, I will glad to answer it. But again, here is again, I just write who, how should create a bugs. What does it mean? Any priority of this bug? What is blocker? What is critical? What is major? To like if there will be a problem and users start create a business user will start creating a blocker, I will have some different session explain some. My dear business user, we will do quick fixes for you, but please do not generate blockers bugs. Please put it a major. I will see that you are creator of this bug and we will discuss it with the team as soon as possible. But again, it all should be. And here I provide types of our defects. And here about requirements related issues. I think it's bad practice to tell your client that he's wrong, but you can tell him that, okay, this is required, not change request, requirement related issues. It will take some additional logic changes. That's why we can have something. It sounds more beautiful to client. Yeah, life cycle is pretty simple. Bug created, developer fixed it. It's go to requires verification. If it's passed, then it's closed. If it's blocked, it go to the on hold. And here I describe all these stages. Risk analysis. Here I describe like standard project related risk and platform related risk is the some stuff that I'm talk at the beginning of our talk of this webinar. And the last one is referency. It's some links to UI design, to some specs, to like Jira epics, to some documents and so on. So you can collect everything once. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for delaying. If you have any question, please ask. That's all from my side for today. Sorry, last part we go pretty quick. But again, I will send you this template will be sent you by organization, organizer of this meeting, and you can read something and you can find me on link ID. And if you have really some real questions, I will be glad to answer. Have you ever tried to analyze or auto-test at all levels to reduce the number of tests you're removing duplicates? For example, remove some end-to-end tests if some of them are covered by low-level tests. Yeah, it's continuous improvement process. How we work with it? First of all, my automation guys always, except last project, is we have sessions at the beginning of our project where we're talking about test design, about test principles, and they using pairwise and they using at least pairwise tool to combine test cases. That's help us to not like duplicate case. Good test design help us to not duplicate case in future. If something is like covered already, we will change it or we will divide it or something else. If there is big amount of after test and we saw that in some cases our tests is like duplicating, we're taking the same logic. Actually, I never have the situation because I always try to reduce time execution for after test, and I check in my tests and validate what scenarios takes a lot of time, what can be parallelized, and the duplicates need to understand again why the duplicates is happened. Yep, need to find not like need to find why it's happened, not how we can remove it. Yep, and usually it's some was factor humankind why it's happened on the project. Yeah, but again, we do not have in my projects we do not have like lower level tests for UI. Yeah, if it's possible, we use Cypress. And even manual guys in some period of time can start write some tests, because Cypress is, for me, it's like semi-automation. Most of time, most of resources is worked with backend part, because it's critical to ensure that business logic is working. And again, for me, it's not interesting some e-commerce some simple e-commerce project or somewhere there where you are clicking something and this all your business logic. For me, it's most interesting when you do some solution. For example, you are want to get a new card from bank. It's really big workflow, and most of logic is covered under it. How do you sort smoke regression test and when quality of test is enough? Very simple. Smoke should not take more than 15-20 minutes. We are prioritize with I prioritize with client. I explain them that provide regression every time it's not a good solution. We have to test for it. Not every time after test is fully covered all your needs, but again, we are working with it, and we can improve on some most critical parts. It's not need to like create lots of tests for any component, for any functionality. You need to have at least one positive test, and it will help you a lot. And in future, you can like extend test levels. But for manual guys, for example, we're talking about, okay, we have 15 minutes to validate logic between prod release or what exactly is critical for you, what flows, what journeys is most critical for you, what do you need, what should work on your system even if apocalypse will happen. And this is our smoke test. Sometimes this list is very specific one, and we have different smoke releases, and we call it sanity test because it's smoke specific area for sanity validation of some exact smoke. For everything else, for overall system, everything else is regression. Between AQA, I mean about tracking all tests, including those ones that are right and devs answer and take them into. The developer's test is responsible of developer tests. What we do, part of our quality gates is unit tests and static code analysis by SonarQube or Veracode or some other solution. So at least even manual guys, when deploy is happen, first of all, I think that good practice when on upper environments like UAT, only QA should deploy. It's good if manual QA deployed. It's pretty easy to start working with cheat, and you can with branching, and you can easily like work with different release candidates, different version, and so on. Of course, you should have a good deployment process described describe it, but against. The second one is we should validate at least that unit test passed. If we see that we go to our job in our CI and we see that, okay, like some big amount of unit test was failed, but before it was passed. It's some suspicion point. We should talk to dev lead at least and tell why it's happened. It's because this test is out of date and you do not have enough time to validate it. Okay, then it will be more work for us because we will need to cover that part that was failed. Again, it's some extrajudicious cases when you need release for yesterday, but it should not be a practice like a regular practice. But otherwise, it's responsibility of devs. If they have a duplicated tests, okay, but again, it's build times and so on. Any other questions?
I guess we don't have other questions. So I just want to say thank you so much, Valery, for a great presentation. And probably you can't see it right now, but we have so many like great words here in the chat. And I just want to remind you that tomorrow you will get the email like with the presentation and the link to the to what we got today with Valery. And I guess it's going to be useful for you guys. And still, if you have some other questions, you can type it to the chat and Valery can try to answer them really quickly.
If you have, here my presentation basically, but I hope that information that the templates that I showed you today will help you on your work. And again, all that I'm talking about today, it's mostly for you, mostly to not have gaps, problems, additional works over times in future. I think that QA should specify their responsibilities and work with their stacks. And unfortunately, on big amount on project where I'm making audit or like my friends or like some other guys asking me some help, I see very simple mistakes and most of these mistakes is because there is no formal acceptance. There is no formal acceptance criteria and entrance criteria for testing, or it exists but no one using it. So I hope that it will help it on your work. And again, all this information, all this stuff, it's needed for you, for your work, and then it needed for your client, your product owners, and so on. If you're using these documents, that it will be really simple to you to talk with your client, to talk with your management, and show results of your work, show reports of your work, and so on, and provide a quality control on your project. Thank you.
Thank you once more, and I wish you guys have a pleasant evening. And please join our next events and webinars.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.